those North Sea coastal parts. A largely sunny start for Northern Ireland, a bit of a west-east split for Scotland with sunshine amounts, but as I mentioned, most of that cloud will be retreating back to those eastern coasts. So some eastern parts of Scotland, the Northern Isles and northeastern coastal parts of England as well, sticking with a bit of cloud through the bulk of the day, but otherwise plenty of sunshine for many of us and just 1 or 2 showers in the southwest possible. With that sunshine, watch out for some very high UV levels and temperatures again likely to get to the very high 20s or perhaps low 30s, so pretty hot in the south, fresher with that cloud towards those northeastern coastal parts. Thursday's looking pretty similar really. Yes, there will be some low cloud to start off with, but again that's going to retreat to those northeastern coasts and then plenty of sunshine for many of us through the bulk of the day, always just a chance of a few showers towards the south. Temperatures are going to drop a little bit as we go through Friday and more so by the weekend, but there will still be plenty of sunshine around. See you later.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific 2-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
The GB News audience is different, it's unique, because they see through the nonsense.
We want to debate with each other, we want to listen and maybe learn.
We have a chat. That's what we do. We try and have a chat.
They'll watch my programme while they're eating their tea, they'll watch breakfast while they're busy getting their kids ready for school.
We want to hear what matters to you, what is news for you.
And what's brought you out here today?
What are the biggest issues affecting this particular area? The audience are the best thing about GB News. They're friends. They're family. They're people who need to have their voices heard.
They're passionate about the channel, they're passionate about what they believe in.
The one thing about GB News is you get a chance to speak.
Talk to me about why so many people have gathered here today.
Do you want to say something back in return? The GB News audience is what makes GB News special.
It's incredible to see.
They shape our programmes, they shape our output, and they shape our channel.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain. It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
it's clear that this was a targeted attack.
Anne Widdecombe's murder is being treated as a targeted attack.
By implication, you're comparing the ERG to the Nazi Party, or at least to the South African racists. Now, whatever you think about the ERG, that was an unacceptable comparison, wasn't it?
Andrew, I would say that wasn't strong enough.
Do the left need to take a look at themselves for the language that they've used over the years? And images emerged today of some Green Party activists attacking an effigy of Andy Burnham. Plus, pictures also emerged of illegal immigrants peering through women's windows. And
Attorney General, if the pen lands in the pot, we leave the ECHR.
Really? All right. Oops.
Very weird bloke. Lord Hermot mocks millions of Brits desperate to leave the ECHR to deport people like those blokes we saw peering through women's windows. Also, one council removes England flags from outside people's homes ahead of the World Cup semi-final. And
well, honestly, I was speechless when I woke up to your voice. Now you told me how you've been feeling. Let's look at.
So, absolutely shameless Ed Miliband tried to allow more drilling in the North Sea if Andy Burnham was going to make him Chancellor. But unfortunately for Ed Miliband, despite selling his soul earlier today, it looks like Burnham has rejected him anyway. So there you go. On our panel tonight, we've got Tory MP Esther McVey, former Reform Party spokesperson Gawain Towler, and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. And can you tell me what's going on here? Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Anne Widdecombe's death was a targeted attack, and police are now looking at whether other Reform politicians were also targeted. Next.
Patrick, thank you. The top stories: counter-terror police say Anne Widdecombe was killed in a targeted attack. They also say they're still working to understand the motive. A 28-year-old man has been arrested and is being questioned for a third day. Andy Burnham says there should be a serious review of MPs' security and that he's certainly prepared to do that following the killing. Assistant Commissioner Lawrence Taylor, head of the Counter-Terrorism Policing, said the killing has not, at this stage, been declared a terrorist incident and police have been given more time to question their suspect.
It's clear that this was a targeted attack. We are still working to understand the extent of any planning or preparation and the motivation that sits behind that attack. And I do not want to comment further on this at this stage of our inquiries. We have also been granted a warrant of further detention, which means the suspect can now be held for questioning for up to 7 days under the Terrorism Act.
Sir Keir Starmer says the UK stands on the precipice of change as MPs approved the Hillsborough Law in a bid to prevent cover-ups linked to failures of the state. The Prime Minister praised campaigners for their work on the long-delayed legislation, which imposes a duty on public authorities and officials to tell the truth and cooperate with official investigations and inquiries. Andy Burnham said the bill ensures justice for ordinary people going forward. It's named after the 1989 Hillsborough disaster, which claimed 97 lives after a crush during the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest. Andy Burnham spoke in the Commons.
What this House will do in passing this bill tonight is
rebalancing the scales of justice so that we have justice for ordinary people going forward, and that, Madam Deputy Speaker, is some legacy indeed. We have all recognised that we simply would not be here tonight were it not for the dignity and the determination of the Hillsborough families who are with us in this chamber this evening.
And the King made his first visit to the Isle of Man as Lord of Man today. The monarch is the island's head of state. His Majesty met with the community and learned more about the island's history and the Manx way of life. The King last visited in 2012 as the Prince of Wales. Those are the latest headlines. Back to Patrick.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good evening. Labour MPs have a brass neck saying nice things about Anne Widdecombe, given some of the horrible, hateful stuff some of their colleagues have said about her and her party while she was alive. Let's take David Lammy. Well, back in 2019, he called Anne Widdecombe poisonous after she said that science may produce an answer to being gay. He said bigots like Anne Widdecombe want to drag us back to the 19th century, throwing minorities out in the cold along the way. We must stand up to them before it's too late. But he's got form, though, hasn't he, Lammy? Here he is saying that Brexiteers, of which, of course, Anne Widdecombe was one, were worse than Nazis.
By implication, you're comparing the ERG to the Nazi Party, or at least to the South African racists. Now, whatever you think about the ERG, that was an unacceptable comparison, wasn't it?
Andrew, I would say that that wasn't strong enough.
And then he was forced to issue a clarification after he said that Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform, of which Anne was a member, flirted with the Hitler Youth.
I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger.
Well, today Lammy came out and slammed this, which is Green Party activists, I believe, caught attending a transgender rights rally where some protesters repeatedly stabbed darts into an effigy of Andy Burnham. And in response, David Lammy comes out and he says this disgraceful act took place just days after the murder of a senior politician, the third of my colleagues in a decade. It is a shared responsibility of all of us in our democracy to call out and condemn violence and threats against politicians. I hope the Green Party leadership takes appropriate action at this time. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't really think Lammy is in much of a position to take the high ground here, do you? Let's have a little look at Jess Phillips. In 2010, when Anne Widdecombe was on Strictly Come Dancing, Jess Phillips said, Anne Widdecombe better go this week. Not only is she a little fascist beast, she's also an anti-abortionist. What a lovely woman. Now, I'm not saying that David Lammy or Jess Phillips have caused Anne's death or contributed to it in any way, but I don't think they've exactly helped dial down the rhetoric, have they? Take Lucy Powell, for example, Labour's deputy leader. So she referred to Reform, Anne's party, as a cancer and a poison. And then she had the brass neck to stand up in Parliament and say this.
I join the Home Secretary in paying my respects and condolences to the family of Anne Widdecombe. We might not have agreed politically, but I always greatly admired and respected her outspokenness, her fearlessness and her ability to not take herself too seriously. I think she was one of a kind, Mr. Speaker, and of the like, frankly, we don't make any more. And does she agree with me that we do need to tackle some of the online algorithms and business models which heighten this kind of polarisation and hate towards those in public life, and we must do more to tackle this with urgency?
Absolutely shameless, isn't it? Absolutely shameless. Then you've got the actual Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Safeguarding and Violence Against Women and Girls, Natalie Fleet, Anne Widdecombe, saying this, look, Nigel Farage and his gang of bin men get the same security as the rest of us, sick of the faux outrage. I mean, Anne Widdecombe was very much a woman who had just been brutally and violently killed, and Fleet just mocked Reform's calls for more security and called Reform politicians a gang of bin men. I'm not entirely sure exactly what she means by that, but anyway. She's apologised and said that her thoughts have always been with Anne and her family. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? And doesn't seem necessarily easy to believe that, does it, that her thoughts have always been with Anne and her family. When Anne returned to frontline politics in 2019 to try to get a proper Brexit done and to stand up for the democratic will of the people, the Sussex Labour Representation Committee published an official statement attacking her positions on LGBT rights and conversion therapy. Labelling her an intolerant hate monger, they explicitly wrote that Widdecombe's views would be best classed as torture or brainwashing and left in the dustbin of history where Widdecombe also belongs. It's also always the left that criticises people's language, but they're not very careful with their own, are they? The socialist worker said, Anne Widdecombe is strictly dead. Don't let the media force us to mourn a bigot. She was no harmless eccentric. They deleted that, apparently, after they found out that she may well have been murdered, but it kind of doesn't really matter, does it? Then we've got former Labour Party candidate and now an employee of Aberdeen University, Heather Herbert, a trans rights activist, who said that they hope that Anne died chained to a bed and was tortured. Herbert has form for this. They were here discussing the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Agenda that is, it's like, you know, when he was shot, what did he say? He's like, literally the question, literally the question beforehand was about gun violence, and he's like, oh well, you know, we've got to.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm broadening it out even more. There does seem to be a theme here with various Labour Party figures. So, following a highly controversial column written by Jan Moir about the tragic death of Boyzone singer Stephen Gatley, West Streeting tweeted in 2009, there would be nothing natural about Jan Moir's death if I shoved the bigoted old bag under a train. Now, he apologised for those comments, but only in 2022 when they resurfaced. Again, look, I'm not saying that these people have caused violence against Anne or anyone for that matter, but the point is this. They always accuse the likes of Nigel Farage or Kemi Badenoch of being responsible for violence with their rhetoric. So perhaps they need to take a look in the mirror. Let's get thoughts from my panel. We've got Gawain Towler, former Reform UK spokesperson. We've got Esther McVeigh, the Tory MP for Tatton, and Kai Wilshaw as well, the political commentator. Esther, I'm going to start with you on this, because you have got some experience, have you not, of some of the kind of rhetoric that I've been talking about there.
Yes, when I was junior minister in DWP and doing benefit changes, I will say that Labour set its attack dogs on me, came into my patch and said I should be lynched. What were they doing, all standing round? You know, what I was doing was, like, not human. And then I thought, gosh, they'd personalised it and they tried to dehumanise me. I wasn't a person, I wasn't a minister, I was vile, I was evil, and they had to teach me a lesson. So it was about bullying, it was about intimidation. It wasn't just me having to be taught a lesson, did I not know what I was doing, but it was anybody else who dared to follow what I did. So it was about fear, intimidation, and to set in train, in motion, that nobody else would follow what I did. So I thought, where do they get this moral superiority from? Where is it that they think what they do is better than anybody else? And I know the left and the right comes from different places. So they'll look at collective welfare. They'll look at social justice, social equality, and they're progressives. Whereas those on the right are traditional. So we're backward. They're progressive, we're traditional. We'll be looking at the individual. So we're selfish. We'll also look at enterprise and trying to get money and sort of personal endeavour. And that, again, is unjust. So I think they put themselves as morally superior. They're indignant by anything we do. And that, in a way, justifies their actions. They feel that the means justify the ends, and what they are doing is for the good, the collective good.
Yeah. And, I mean, she's a little fascist beast. I mean, this is... by the way, can you imagine, firstly, getting that worked up about Strictly Come Dancing for a start? But, you know, Jess Phillips went there. She's a little fascist beast, she called her. You know, again, you've got, you know, some of the rhetoric like Lucy Powell there, who had the gall of her standing up in Parliament today.
I've always loved her. I've always respected her. Rubbish.
Yeah.
Utter rubbish. I think following on from what Ezra was saying there, Jonathan Haidt, an American psychologist, wrote about this very, very well in a book, I think was subtitled Why Good People Dislike Each Other or something along those lines. But a fascinating study into this. And what he came to the conclusion was those on the left think that those on the right are in some way morally inferior and they're in some way subhuman, whereas those on the right think the people on the left are mistaken.
Yes.
And there's this big difference. And so, therefore, somebody who is absolutely certain of their own moral decency, everything they do must, because they are good, be good. It doesn't matter how badly they behave, their actions must be good because they are good people. Whereas those on the right, because they are bad people, anything they do, good or ill, must be bad. And there is this massive disconnect between the two sides. Sadly, I see some people on the right now starting to say, well, these guys do it to us all the time, so why don't we get it back? The cancellation culture, and we might be touching on that, the cancellation culture used to be very much one-sided, from left cancelling the right. Now I'm beginning to see some people on the right, and I have arguments with my people on my side of the argument, saying, no, we can't behave like that. We must retain who we are, because otherwise, why bother?
What do you make, Kyle? You know, some of the rhetoric that has been coming out of the left, whether it's this relentless desire to liken everyone to Nazis or the dehumanisation of people or referring to them as being like cancers on society, or I think James O'Brien as well referred to Nigel Farage as a skid mark on the Y-fronts of Britain recently. I mean, and then they have the gall to come out and either mourn someone's loss in what we now are being told is a targeted attack, and call for, you know, oh gosh, you know, we need to really do more on social media to dial down this rhetoric. They're the ones putting it on social media.
Hang on, Patrick. I think the right wing are being self-indulgent on some of this and navel-gazing and hypocritical, frankly, because you're totally fine with dehumanising and inflammatory language at certain points. If you're a migrant, have at it. If you're black and brown people, have at it. If it's trans people, have at it. But if it's Nigel Farage, suddenly it's why the left hates the right. That was the framing of this debate. Now, we can have a discussion about why but it comes from extremes, It comes from an extreme of the left and an extreme of the right.
The leader of the Labour Party, an extremist.
Well, no, but let's look at what Zia Youssef has said in the past. Let's look at what Nigel Farage has said.
You're literally talking about the former Deputy Prime Minister, the former Lord Chancellor, the current Deputy Prime Minister. These are current sitting politicians in the cabinet of this country who behave like gutter snipes.
And they shouldn't poison the well that way.
Well, they are, and they're in the position to poison.
But so are you, so is your lot. I agree with your analysis.
Was the shadow chancellor who came after me, and this was the far left Corbynista side. So what I noticed, and as I said, I analysed a lot, the left always plays the man and not the ball. They never. We will talk about policy. They will always talk about the individual. They have the moral superiority because they're the collective and we're the individual. It is a very, very different culture. And as I said, I suffered it for a long period of time, and that's why I analysed it. So there is a fundamental difference. I think we are completely different the way we play the game.
I think there was something in what Gawain is saying, though, in terms of this has changed recently. That may have been the case before.
I think
but what you're seeing now...
and it's a minority still, but it does exist. And I personally have quite a lot of disputes with them.
Which is exactly right.
And there's in that wonderful film, The Rise and Fall of Colonel Blimp, the argument made, well, Churchill tried to have the film banned and failed, by the way. The censors said, no, this film goes on. It's the central character makes the point. If we behave like the Germans, why are we fighting? And I do hold that very, very important truth.
I totally agree. I'm glad you're doing that. I similarly don't call people fascists. I don't call people racist because I think that's wrong. Number one, it's not effective. Number two, it's not, as Esther says, it should be about other issues. You shouldn't play the man, not the ball. But we are entering a period where, so More in Common, who, lovely little notebook here, they looked at the two different groupings who think, for instance, political violence, including harassment, is okay. And it is at the extremes of the left and the right. The reasons they give, on the left, it's fascism, racism, homophobia, and on the right, increasingly, it's Islamism and pro-migration views and so on. So we are being polarised, and many parties have to take the blame for that.
And I think social media has definitely played into it. The fact that now you can call out to a whole tribe, you can magnify what you're saying, and you can go down a tunnel of darkness and only listen to an echo chamber.
In the last couple of years, I personally have received far more death threats from the right than I have from the left. I had completely forgotten the right was anti-Semitic until recently, because we were so used to the left being anti-Semitic. And so I've seen it, but it is a tiny group of people in comparison to senior members of the government.
Yes, but I think I hope that they wouldn't have done that in this current climate. They didn't realise at that time, frankly, that what they said mattered. Some of these.
Oh, come on! They didn't realise what after Joe Cox was killed, they were right on the button. Next day, language matters. Yes. Right-wing rhetoric caused this. Today, language. Oh no, we didn't know. We didn't know language matters.
Now we're having a discussion saying the left is to blame for lots of this. We're worse. I don't think that's fair.
This is a key point, which is that whenever anything happens this bad, like you see disorder on the streets, or you see, the kind of protests like we saw after Henry Novak or Southport or whatever, it's the language of the right explicitly that has caused it. That's what the left says. But then when you look at the catalogue of stuff that I outlined there, oh no, we didn't cause anything. Oh, we didn't cause anything.
From mainstream Labour figures.
After the Southport riots, you had 5,000 people demonstrating outside a letterbox, which used to be the office of the Reform, with the slogan Farage riots. His language caused those riots. It did not. It did not.
The Fabian Society has security now because of attacks under it. The Fabian Society is a bunch of kids who like to talk policy. They're not the danger that's ruining our country, and yet here we are. It is polarisation on both sides.
Okay. All right. Well, look, we've got a whole raft of rights of replies to go to here. Speaking about the comments made by Heather Herbert, is the person who's at Aberdeen University. An Aberdeen University spokeswoman said, the university is aware of social media posts made by a member of staff regarding the death of Anne Widdecombe and is reviewing this as a matter of priority. The comments that have been shared are entirely the individual's own and do not represent the views of the University of Aberdeen. Now, it's interesting, though, because Heather Herbert actually told the student newspaper, I don't want to see anyone murdered, but I'm still glad she's dead. I posted that before the murder investigation was launched. I'm a nobody. I have no power to do anything. Anne Widdecombe was able to and made the lives of ordinary people hell. So there you go. And a Hackney Green Group spokesperson, which was, the ones where they were stabbing an effigy of Andy Burnham that I showed you earlier, said a number of Green councillors attended the event in order to reiterate their solidarity with the trans community. This event was held in the context of the revised EHRC guidance. Any protest involves various organisations and individuals. There is no collective responsibility for each attendee to account for the actions of other attendees. And look, you can all make of those comments what you will. Right, we've got loads to get through tonight, as you would expect, but I do want to tell you about the latest Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can be in it to win it.
We're celebrating a golden summer, as you could win a totally tax-free £60,000 in cash to spend on anything you like. Imagine all of the fun you could have this year with that. You could spend it on treats, save it for a rainy day, or give you the chance to chill out and relax on the perfect getaway. Plus, we're going to give you a £5,000 gold bar that you could keep, trade, or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. You really could be enjoying gold and £60,000 cash in our golden summer celebration.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, well, look, we are going to be talking about this shortly.
It's clear that this was a targeted attack.
Well, Anne Widdecombe's murder is now being treated as a targeted attack. So why were the police so quick to rule that out initially? And will certain politicians and certain journalists now take threats to Reform MPs more seriously? But before that... Well, Well, one council, it's in Portsmouth, has become the latest local authority to ban local residents from flying the St George's Cross just 24 hours before England's World Cup semi-final against Argentina, which of course is a football match that will be played for who gets custody of the Falkland Islands. That's next.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I. Those are just facts. I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Stop. We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories. And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. So it's time now for our head-to-head. So, Portsmouth City Council is the latest in a string of local authorities that have started pulling down residents' England flags. In a video posted on social media by a Reform councillor, council workers appeared to take down a St George's Cross from a local resident's balcony just 24 hours before England's World Cup semi-final against Argentina. I mean, come on. It's a bit ridiculous, this, isn't it? Portsmouth Council follows in the footsteps of Cheshire Council, which removed England flags from lampposts, Oxfordshire Council, which has even gone to court, the High Court, to stop them being put up, insisting that they pose safety risk. But I mean, what safety risk is there? It's on their balcony, for goodness sake. Tonight, I'm asking, is Portsmouth City Council right to take down England flags on the eve of the World Cup semi-final? Going head-to-head on this now are the group leader for Reform UK at Portsmouth City Council, Emily Strudwick, and political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Thank you very much, both of you. Yeah, Emily, I'll start with you. So why is the council doing this?
Clearly, because they don't have common sense. I mean, we're back here again. They did the same with the Christmas wreaths. They're saying it's a fire risk. I'm sorry, it's on a concrete building on a steel pole, backing into a car park. What risk is there? It's absolutely ludicrous.
Well, coffee, I mean, do you think they're right to take these St George's Cross with the England flags down just as they're about to play the Archies?
Well, I think it's pretty naive to think that, you know, a fire should not be or could not be held outside when most people go outside the balcony to smoke. Another thing is nobody is banning the England flag and nobody is telling people they should not be, they should be ashamed of patriotism. In fact, Portsmouth City Council itself flies the Union flag from its official buildings. This isn't about patriotism. It's whether individuals can decide for themselves what goes on public property. So the residents remain completely free to fly the St George's Cross or the Union flag on their own homes and private property. No. What they cannot do is do this. Even if they were to even own their own private house, they have to ask permission from a landlord. So nobody is above the law. It's just respecting what is there with regards to public safety and people whose job is to maintain, whatever it is that the council has regulated. This has nothing to do with that. This is not even about the left versus right, because Reform-led Durham removed unauthorized flags alone because of safety concerns. So it's not just this particular council. We've seen that in councils operate differently with different choices, and every council still has legal duties over public-owned properties. So that's what
all right. Emily, do you want to come back to that?
I find it odd that she mentions that obviously the council fly their own flag. Yes, on a steel pole around cement in bricks. Like, it's the same instance. Why are the council allowed to? But yet, if you live in social housing, you're not allowed that right to support your country. It's absolutely, I don't get it. It's only for a short time. If the World Cup happens every 4 years. Allow them to fly the flag and use common sense and say, I'll tell you what, we don't allow it because of a fire risk, but once the World Cup's finished, could you please take it down? And I'm sure there wouldn't be so much of a backlash. But no, they're just going down, cutting them down. It's theft.
That is so silly for someone to say that, because, when you have hazards, when you have safety concerns, when you've got risk factors, there is no kind of, just put it on for 24 hours. Something may or may not happen. That is not the way it is. And banning this doesn't mean that they actually are not being patriotic or doing anything. It's just like how pets are not allowed and certain animals doesn't mean they hate pets. It's unauthorized. Do you not understand that? We do not remove, football bunting, because we're anti-football and removing graffiti because it's, decor. It's the fact that at the end of the day, you have to understand what the regulation says. And there's no such thing as, 24 hours, you're going to be safe.
I don't know. I could be wrong. Look, I could be wrong about this, and I'm willing to be proved wrong online. No doubt someone will dig up some kind of horrific incident that I'm not aware of, right? But I cannot remember a time that a flag hanging outside someone's balcony set on fire and caused just the most horrific thing that anyone's ever seen.
You have to have something bad happen for it to be a hazard. You don't understand how risk
likelihood, isn't it? I mean, do we really have to ban everything?
It's not your own property. It is the council that has these kinds of decisions made by regulators and professionals. So again, they're taking that into consideration.
I suppose, Emily, just give you the final word on this. I suppose it's in a wider context where I suspect people feel as though potentially, if it was another flag, it might not be taken down. Whereas it seems to be St George's, the St George's.
I'm not sure why the flag is angering her so much. Like, it's patriotism.
No, it's nothing to do with the flag angering me.
Okay. Well,
that is so wrong. That is an assumption being put there. I'm saying that I fly the flag myself. I have a private property. I can do what I want. My landlord, if I was renting...
Well, that's interesting then, because it's only wealthy people, isn't it? You see, that's quite classist. See, that is quite a classist thing to say, because people who can't afford their own properties, people who live in social housing, they are being denied the right to show their support for their country. Whereas you, from your position, your ivory tower of privilege, Fahima, you get to fly your flag,
You're allowed to fly but nobody else is. Great.
All right, guys. All right, look, thank you. I know. I'm pulling your legs. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you very much. And obviously, come on, England. Right. That is Emily Strubwick there, who is the leader of Reform UK Portsmouth City Council, and political commentator Fahim Mohammed. Right. Councillor Steve Pitt, who is the actual leader of Portsmouth City Council, said, "We understand residents want to show their support for England, and we're pleased to see the community getting behind the team. However, our fire safety policy requires communal balconies to be kept clear of anything that could catch fire, spread fire, or block safe access. This applies to all items placed on balconies, including flags and banners. Residents are welcome to display flags inside their homes, such as in the window, where they can still show their support while helping to keep everyone safe." What a soulless country we live in. Coming up, Ed Miliband's been caught selling his net zero soul in a blatant attempt to further his own ambitions. But unfortunately for Ed Miliband, it's massively backfired. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened next.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we've been talking about heat across the UK for a while, we've been talking about heat across parts of Europe for even longer, and the exceptionally hot spell does look set to continue. It's more across parts of France, but also pushing into eastern Spain, where we're seeing the very high temperatures compared to average. But even further south, well, here it is pretty hot, and temperatures for parts of Italy getting into the high 30s or low 40s. With all that, lots of sunshine, but do watch out for a bit of showery rain. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. It's time for your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's going to be another warm night for many of us, with some low cloud returning like it has done through recent nights. But most of that will burn away, leaving a largely sunny picture tomorrow, because we still have high pressure firmly in control. Now, as we've seen through recent nights, yes, low cloud, which has been nagging some North Sea coasts through today, that's going to become more widespread, spread its way further west and southwards. But many western and southern areas will stick with the clear skies, and it is going to be a warm night for many of us as well. Temperatures in the south holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. Further north, a bit fresher, a bit more comfortable. Some places perhaps getting into single digits. Now, all the time, it is worth bearing in mind 1 or 2 showers are possible in parts of the southwest through this evening, overnight, and even tomorrow. You can't rule out a couple, particularly for Cornwall. Otherwise, it's going to be dry, and a lot of the cloud across central and eastern parts, that's going to burn away and become confined to just those North Sea coastal parts. A largely sunny start for Northern Ireland, bit of a west-east split for Scotland with sunshine amounts, but as I mentioned, most of that cloud will be retreating back to those eastern coasts. So some eastern parts of Scotland, the Northern Isles and northeastern coastal parts of England as well, sticking with a bit of cloud through the bulk of the day, but otherwise plenty of sunshine for many of us, and just 1 or 2 showers in the southwest possible. With that sunshine, watch out for some very high UV levels, and temperatures again likely to get to the very high 20s or perhaps low 30s, so pretty hot in the south, fresher with that cloud towards those northeastern coastal parts. Thursday's looking pretty similar, really. Yes, there'll be some low cloud to start off with, but again, that's going to retreat to those northeastern coasts, and then plenty of sunshine for many of us through the bulk of the day. Always just a chance of a few showers towards the south. Temperatures are going to drop a little bit as we go through Friday, and more so by the weekend, but there will still be plenty of sunshine around. See you later.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. So, the man who has become the face of the government's net zero push is reportedly about to U-turn and back more drilling in the North Sea. Yes, reports in the Daily Telegraph suggest that Ed Miliband has privately signalled his willingness to grant consent for drilling at the Jackdaw gas field, but cannot publicly confirm the move until a consultation closes next month. Now, critics have accused the Energy Secretary of just a cynical bid to claim to calm market jitters over his possible appointment as Chancellor in Andy Burnham's new government. But actually, it turns out that despite the fact that he appears to have been utterly willing to sell his soul for his own political advantage, it could well have backfired, because GB News' political editor Christopher Hope reports that there is now every indication in Parliament today that Ed Miliband will not be the Chancellor. In fact, apparently, Shabana Mahmood is the current frontrunner for that. I'm joined now by the campaign director at Net Zero Watch, Maurice Cousins. Thank you very, very much. I mean, Ed Miliband here has sold his soul for the sake of personal and political gain, only to see it blow up in his face by the looks of it.
I mean, Miliband is the ultimate Machiavel. You know, he's very well known for being able to play sort of cynical games. You know, this is being spun by Team Miliband as like a display of sort of pragmatism, and that he's, you know, prepared to, you know, make a few concessions in order to be able to for the greater good. But you know, in truth, I've always felt that he was using some of these oil and gas fields as a bargaining chip for the ultimate prize, which was the Treasury, because that is where, let's be honest, the battle for net zero will be won. It's where the tax and spend decisions will be made. It's where redistributionism is sort of determined, etc. So you know, him getting his hands on that department really is a way for him to be able to push forward his ideological dream.
It's just fascinating about what potentially caused Miliband to shift. It wasn't the idea of pensioners freezing in their own homes. No. It wasn't the fact that we've got the highest energy costs in the developed world. You know, it wasn't again, there was a story that came out today about them potentially covering up the threat of blackouts. It wasn't any of that. It was, oh, I might become Chancellor.
Yeah, personal ambition. I mean, it's absolutely shocking. I mean, he has been playing games with our oil and gas sector now, I would argue, for well over a decade. I mean, you know, he's been opposed to things like fracking since the mid-2010s. You know, the time for pragmatism, in my view, was really around 2022 when the invasion of Ukraine happened. And instead of actually sort of saying, do you know what, actually, I'm going to put aside my ideological worldview because this is in the national interest, he continued to double down and was pushing out spurious arguments that it won't make any difference. You know, we're only responsible for about 1% of global supply, etc. And you know, as a result of that, we've seen our energy bills go up, our tax take go down for the North Sea, and you know, we've got to remember about the human side of this. People have lost their jobs as a result of this. Yeah. You know, lots of people have lost their jobs in the intervening period. So, and you go to Aberdeen today, it's an absolute tragedy.
Well, it is a tragedy. Property prices are falling. People are having to relocate and uproot their entire families to places like Mexico or Indonesia simply because of policies like the ones that Ed Miliband is inflicting upon people there. Utterly self-defeating. But, you know, again, with that, you know, surely now the game is up for Miliband. I mean, this story has come out. They don't appear to have really denied it much. They're selling it, as you said, as it's a display of pragmatism. So he now has to do an about turn, doesn't he? He can't now continue seriously to push this ridiculous no drilling net zero agenda when we all know now that he was willing to wiggle on that if it meant that he got the keys to number 11.
Look, I mean, never say never with Ed Miliband. I mean, we saw the last of him in 2015, and now he's back. A few months ago, he was being talked up as being a potential leader, and now he's being talked up as a sort of potential chancellor. Who knows where this man goes? The only thing I can say is that he is a wholly inappropriate choice for chancellor.
Go on, why?
Because this is a man that has, you know, I think in terms of his credibility with the markets, because of things that he has actually said himself in his own book. If you read his book, Go Big, he has said, for example, he sees it as his mission to end our 300-year economic model. In terms of the things he said about the oil and gas sector, he said that those who run the oil and gas sector don't deserve our sympathy. This is a deeply ideological person. He is not, I don't think he orients towards reality. He makes his decisions based on ideas and bad and wrong ideas. So I think that, for that reason alone, never mind getting into the things about the disastrous roles that he's played in our foreign policy, Syria, that then giving the green light to people like Putin in 2014, all of that, leaving that aside, I just think the man should be nowhere near the levers of power.
Gosh, well, strong stuff, Maurice. Thank you very, very much. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. It's the campaign director at Net Zero Watch there, Maurice Cousins. Look, a spokesperson for the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero said our priority is to deliver a fair, orderly and prosperous transition in the North Sea in line with our climate and legal obligations, which drives our clean energy future of energy security, lower bills and good long-term jobs. The UK has diverse and resilient energy supply, and gas will continue to play a key role as we transition to more secure, clean, homegrown energy. That's what they've said. OK, look, obviously it's the most serious story of the day and of recent times, certainly. We're going to be talking about this shortly.
Clear that this was a targeted attack.
So Anne Widdecombe's murder is now being treated as a targeted attack. So why were the police so quick to rule that out initially? Apparently the police are also keeping an open mind about whether or not other Reform politicians were targeted. That's a line that's emerged this evening. And will certain politicians and some journalists as well now take the threats to Reform MPs more seriously? But before we get stuck into that...
Attorney General, if the pen lands in the pot, we leave the ECHR.
Really? All right. Oops.
So weird. Was that just the Attorney General, Lord Hermer's cringe-worthy attempt to mock millions of Brits desperate to leave the ECHR so that we can deport people like the ones we're going to talk about later, illegal migrants who were peering through women's windows? That's all next.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The completion of the challenge, the Princess of Wales was met by her family, including the Prince of Wales and her 3 children.
Lovely. All right, let's talk to former Royal Butler, Grant Harold. Grant, honestly, that little video there just seemed to say it all to me, because it was clearly all just off the cuff, not a prepared speech. She just came across as someone who really cares about what she does.
She does, and I mean, she's remarkable because, as you said, it was just suddenly announced last night that she'd done this. And not that I'm a huge expert in this, but it's quite a challenge. I actually know somebody that did it recently. I mean, I think you've got to walk about 23, 24 miles. You're climbing about up to, is it 9,000 feet? You're travelling over 500 miles. It's 3 highest peaks in the UK, Scotland, England and Wales. I mean, it's a remarkable achievement.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In his 23 years of service, Alan was deployed to a number of conflicts, including the Gulf War. He met his wife Tracy Ann when he returned to civilian life, and Alan is proud of his time in the forces.
The actual Gulf War, it was during this Scud missile sort of crisis, if you like, and I found that quite worrying because it was so random. If somebody points a rifle at you and intends to kill you, that's one thing. But these missiles were just fired into nowhere. One of the camps got hit. A lot of US servicemen got killed. And RAF regiment fellas went in to help. And the effects of war are clearly not nice. But if it was done for the right reasons, it had to be done.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
No, Cameron, so he's the first monarch ever to do this, then, isn't he? What's your take on what we've seen in the data here?
Well, Patrick, for GB News audiences, I spent 5 hours in financial briefings with all of these documents, so you don't have to go through them all, and we've assimilated them with my producer, Tom, this afternoon and evening for you. As you said, Patrick, at the start of your piece there, I think a lot of our audience are probably going to be wondering why £370 million, roughly, of their money is being spent on resurfacing a building, Buckingham Palace, which no monarch is unlikely to ever live in ever again. The money that the king surrenders the profits of from the Crown Estates to the Treasury in exchange for a percentage to fund the official duties, that percentage for almost a decade has been much higher.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. So, not for the first time, the Attorney-General, Lord Hermer, has gone viral on social media for all the wrong reasons. His cringeworthy attempt at defending Britain's membership of the ECHR seems to have backfired.
Attorney General, if the pen lands in the pot, we leave the ECHR.
Really? All right. Oops. So, 3 reasons I'm really glad I missed. Firstly, I believe that government protects people's rights. It doesn't take them away from them. Secondly, the rights in the ECHR are our rights. They're fundamental rights. They're your and our human rights. And thirdly, you know what? I think the world's a better place when we come together with 45 other nations across Europe, united in our shared values.
I just love the fact someone's looked at that and gone, yeah, mate, that's great, we'll put that out. Yeah, that's pretty... What Lord Hermer failed to mention is that the ECHR is also the reason why we haven't been able to deport thousands and thousands of illegal migrants and foreign criminals from the UK, including an Albanian whose removal was blocked because his son doesn't like foreign chicken nuggets, a Syrian armed bank robber who claimed that deportation would breach his human rights. I mean, you could go on and on. I'm joined now by presentation coach and also former barrister. It's Graham Davies. Graham, thank you very, very much. Lord Hermer, I'll just say it as I see it, just comes across like an incredibly weird bloke. He shouldn't really be anywhere near power.
He seems to have forgotten that he's meant to be a government law officer, which is a very serious position, rather than trying to come across like some sort of cross between Harry Hill and Kenneth Williams. He is somebody in the role of Attorney General. We, as barristers, are meant to be staid, serious people because we deal with serious stuff, sometimes helping a court to decide whether somebody goes to prison for the rest of their lives. And when you become a barrister as a government law officer, you're meant to be even more serious. The sort of guy who can light up a cabinet meeting simply by walking out of it. Because you are the government's backstop. It's driver's airbag. It's clangor test. If the government, the Prime Minister and the rest of the cabinet ministers think it may have done something wrong, or it's about to do something which it thinks is a bit controversial, they all look to the Attorney General to see what his opinion is as to whether, yes, it's a go or no, it's a no-go. And if he's not sure, he's quite literally got 20 KCs on speed dial from whom he can get a calculated, considered opinion over the next 2 hours. And for him to actually descend from being a staid considerer of the legal position of a particular policy to move into descending down into arguing for that policy, especially in mass market social media like Instagram, in legal terms, in terms of legal etiquette and whether it's the right practice or not, most lawyers would regard it as something close to blasphemy.
Really? I take it you don't actually think he's right about the ECHR?
Oh, absolutely not. The ECHR is something that is strangling the rights of British people. He seems to think it is something that is enabling the rights of British people. But that issue, one way or the other, in some ways that's relevant. He should not be arguing about a government policy or acting as an advocate for government policy on social media as the Attorney General.
He'll be gone soon, though, I think, won't he?
I suspect he may not survive. I don't think his sense of humour is something that Andy Burnham will necessarily appreciate. You see, Patrick, humour is a weapon which may surprise you, is not necessarily either well used or well received by politicians, especially its evil cousin, ridicule. And, of course, what Lord Harmer has done is open himself to that massively.
Well, he's also, I think, ridiculed a lot of people who have a genuine belief about the ECHR and getting out of it. And we're going to touch on a story in a bit, by the way, about illegal migrants essentially peeping in on women's bedrooms. You know, would they use the ECHR to block the deportation? Almost definitely yes. But look, thank you very, very much. An absolute pleasure to have you. I really appreciate you coming into the studio, as well as Graham Davies there, who's a former barrister and indeed a presentation coach as well. Coming up.
It's clear that this was a targeted attack.
Look, an unbelievably serious story, this. Anne Widdecombe's murder is now being treated as a targeted attack, and apparently police are keeping an open mind about whether or not other Reform politicians were also targeted. So we're going to be talking about some of the unanswered questions at the moment around Anne Widdecombe's death. That's next.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. It's time for your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's going to be another warm night for many of us, with some low cloud returning like it has done through recent nights. But most of that will burn away, leaving a largely sunny picture tomorrow, because we still have high pressure firmly in control. Now, as we've seen through recent nights, yes, low cloud, which has been nagging some North Sea coasts through today, that's going to become more widespread, spread its way further west and southwards. But many western and southern areas will stick with the clear skies, and it is going to be a warm night for many of us as well. Temperatures in the south holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. Further north, a bit fresher, a bit more comfortable. Some places perhaps getting into single digits. Now, all the time, it is worth bearing in mind one or two showers are possible in parts of the southwest through this evening, overnight, and even tomorrow. You can't rule out a couple, particularly for Cornwall. Otherwise, it's going to be dry, and a lot of the cloud across central and eastern parts, that's going to burn away and become confined to just those North Sea coastal parts. A largely sunny start for Northern Ireland, a bit of a west-east split for Scotland with sunshine amounts, but as I mentioned, most of that cloud will be retreating back to those eastern coasts. So some eastern parts of Scotland, the Northern Isles and northeastern coastal parts of England as well, sticking with a bit of cloud through the bulk of the day, but otherwise plenty of sunshine for many of us, and just one or two showers in the southwest possible. With that sunshine, watch out for some very high UV levels, and temperatures again likely to get to the very high 20s or perhaps low 30s, so pretty hot in the south, fresher with that cloud towards those northeastern coastal parts. Thursday's looking pretty similar, really. Yes, there'll be some low cloud to start off with, but again, that's going to retreat to those northeastern coasts, and then plenty of sunshine for many of us through the bulk of the day. Always just a chance of a few showers towards the south. Temperatures are going to drop a little bit as we go through Friday, and more so by the weekend, but there will still be plenty of sunshine around. See you later.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very, very
Tonight on the unpredictable. What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
and always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
It's clear that this was a targeted attack.
Anne Widdecombe's murder is now being treated as a targeted attack.
By implication, you're comparing the ERG to the Nazi Party, or at least to the South African racists. Now, whatever you think about the ERG, that was an unacceptable comparison, wasn't it?
Andrew, I would say that wasn't strong enough.
Do the left need to take a look at themselves for the language that they've used over the years? And images emerged today of Green Party activists attending a rally where an effigy of Andy Burnham was stabbed in the face. Plus, pictures also emerged of illegal immigrants peering through women's windows, which is remarkable again, isn't it, when you think that now the government plan is to just have more of these different bases popping up all around the UK in towns and villages. Absolutely shocking stuff. And I'm going to reveal at 10:30 p.m. the most pointless policy this government has ever come up with. And get ready, seriously, for it. It is just the worst thing you've ever come up with in terms of how pointless it is. Plus, I've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages and breaking news on the front page of the Metro. Don't jinx it, Keir. Countdown to England versus Argentina. And just to say, I'm sure most of you are aware, but England will play Spain in the final. That's right, obviously, if we beat Argentina. But England will play Spain in the final. They've just beaten France 2-0, so the favourites are out. It's opened up for England. We've just got to get past Argentina and, of course, do it for the Falklands. On my panel tonight, we've got Tory MP Esther McVeigh. We've got former Reform Party spokesperson Gawain Towler and political commentator Kai Wilshaw. And speaking of the England-Argentina game, can you tell me what's going on here? Where's a council with a flag remover when you need one? Get ready, Britain, here we go. Well, good evening. Today, there are so many unanswered questions about Anne Widdecombe's death. Today, this happened.
However, it is clear that this was a targeted attack. We are still working to understand the extent of any planning or preparation and the motivation that sits behind that attack. And I do not want to comment further on this at this stage of our inquiries.
Well, that was Assistant Commissioner Lawrence Taylor, the head of counter-terrorism policing. He went on to say,
"This is a complex investigation, and there are multiple lines of inquiry that we are pursuing expeditiously, including digital forensic examinations."
Yes. So they now have 7 days, I believe, to detain the suspect without charge. The head of counter-terrorism policing did finish by saying,
"Would like to use this opportunity to remind the public that investigations of this type are complex and new information can emerge as officers progress their inquiries. And we intend to release further information when it's available and when it is appropriate to do so.
And after he made that statement in front of the cameras, I can now reveal tonight that he was asked whether detectives were exploring if other Reform UK figures had been targeted. And he confirmed that it was one line of inquiry. Now, I want to stress again, nobody has yet been charged in relation to Anne Widdecombe's death. Everybody remains innocent until proven guilty. But here are some serious questions that stand out to me based on what we've learned today. The police have confirmed that this attack was a targeted attack. So when Nigel Farage got very angry about his daughter's address being made public...
I will not tolerate intimidation of my family. I will not tolerate the location of where they live being revealed. I will not tolerate any of my family being endangered because of what I choose to do in public life. So yes, you can ask, am I angry? But I've never been angrier in my life.
Well, I think he has a right to be, doesn't he? In fact, I imagine most politicians are living in fear these days. I also have questions about this.
I recognise the particular concern that the Reform Party will feel today, and of course Nigel Farage, the party's leader. I'm happy to offer a meeting for Mr Farage with the chair of RAVIC, the independent body within the Home Office that manages the security of those in public life. And I will also be looking at what security guidance can be provided to former members of Parliament, which I hope to work with you on, Mr Speaker, as well as those who serve a party outside of this place.
So Shabana Mahmood offered to meet Nigel Farage about security. Well, given that we now know that this was a targeted attack against a Reform politician, wouldn't it be better for the state to throw a ring of steel around Reform politicians instead of just having a meeting with them about it at some point in the future? I also have questions about this headline on the front of the I newspaper today, saying that Nigel Farage turned down the security offered by the government. I mean, the real reason he rejected it was because, as Zia Youssef claims, it was set to be reduced by about 75%.
I had to share this information today because for the authorities to reduce his security by 75% a couple of weeks ago. And of course, tragically a couple of weeks ago, Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the most high-profile political assassination in recent memory.
Look, I felt that that was a very dodgy headline, in light of the fact that Anne Widdecombe had just been killed in what we now know was a targeted attack against a Reform politician. And people like Dan Hodges at the Mail, who, again, I must say, over the years, I've had quite a lot of time for, but he's saying Reform are deliberately trying to use Anne's death to deflect from the £5 million gift Nigel received. Look, Anne was a friend and a colleague and a Reform politician who appears to have been killed in a targeted attack. Surely Reform politicians have a right to raise questions about the level of security they receive, and if they deem it to be inadequate, they have the right to pay for it themselves. I do question why some aspects of the media are so dehumanising towards some people on the right that they can't stop and think maybe, just maybe, they are genuinely scared for their own safety and they are genuinely mourning Anne's death. Now, there are some more questions here. Why were the police so keen to say 3 times that there was nothing to indicate a political motive or terrorism, when it appears that they hadn't even fully searched the suspect's house yet? Shabana Mahmood has said that the suspect was not known to prevent. Was he previously known to police, though? Another question is, how can the police realistically expect people to take them seriously when they say, and they keep saying, please don't speculate, or please, oh, watch out, you might spread misinformation, when the police could very well be accused of speculating or giving out misleading information at times themselves? And finally, the big question for me, and the bigger picture here, is why would anyone want to go into politics right now? So they get paid around 98.5 grand a year. Fine. Hey, that is a lot of money to a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. And you get expenses. Yes. But for that amount of money, you sacrifice your right to a private life. Your family gets dragged into it. And you now potentially need round-the-clock security, even at your home address. And I mean, it wasn't that long ago that stuff like this was happening. So that was pro-Palestine protesters turning up at the home of then Tory MP Tobias Ellwood. And he wasn't the only one that they did that to, by the way. You know, that must have been terrifying if your family's in, if your kids are in. I don't know if 98.5 grand a year is enough to tempt people into that kind of life, actually. I just look at all of that, and I look at all of those questions that I've just posed, and I think, we are in a real mess here, aren't we? Let's get our thoughts on my panel this evening. We've got Gawain Towler, former Reform UK spokesperson. We've got Esther McVeigh, Tory MP for Tatton. Kai Wilshaw as well, political commentator. Esther, I'll start with you on this. Lots of unanswered questions here, obviously. And I think one of the big things for me that stood out was that kind of new line, I think, which is that the police are investigating whether or not other Reform MPs were targeted here, actually. And you know, in light of that, you know, the security questions and things, you think people should be taking this a bit more seriously?
Yes, and whilst they'll be looking into whether there's links between Anne and other Reform politicians, I know, having been a Secretary of State, that actually they monitor all of your social media. I remember when I was announced as the Secretary of State for DWP, there was something like 93,000 hits in a minute on the Twitter account, all of which then were searched for a long period of time, and they checked the level of threat I was under for a long period of time. I think it is getting worse. It is a dangerous profession now. 3 murders in the last 10 years. I think people do need to take it very seriously. I've spoken to my Reform, I will say, colleagues and friends, and they are concerned. They have been attacked coming in and out of Parliament. And I have to tell you, it's very easy to know when we voted. It's very easy to know what our movements are. And I remember, again, when I was getting the train from Euston and I was going to Lime Street at the time, somebody would tweet that I had got on the train. 2 hours later, there would be a whole set of demonstrations waiting for me as I got off the train. And people really weren't alert to that back in 2012. Now they are getting a little bit more savvy, but they do need to understand the threats, watch that threat level, and do put the right security in place for these people. No point being wise after the act, is it?
No. Well, I'll go to Gwen in the UK as well. So, the breaking line today, really, I suppose, is that the police came out and said that this is a targeted attack.
I think the word is assassination. A targeted attack on a politician. That is an assassination. I don't know why we're hiding from that. That's the fact. And that is horrifying. It's not something we're used to in this country. But you're talking about people going on the train and treating. The reason why Nigel doesn't go to the pub anymore is because he can go for 1 pint and somebody's tweeted it and then people turn up.
Yeah.
He used to love going to the pubs, but he can't. And sadly, many of our figures do have to have close protection officers now and have done for a while. And this business about the 75% cut, the problem is that it wouldn't work. We had to pay for more, and those close protection officers paid for by the Home Office, and ours, it just didn't work. It wasn't possible, so it was better to stop having the 25% and have a full set, because it didn't work. It was practically impossible. And so therefore we had to pick up the tab. But this has been going on for a long, long time. It was many years ago since Nigel stopped taking the train. He hated it. But it became impossible. I remember him telling me once, after 7 o'clock, I can't take the train because there's some bloke who's had a couple of pints and feels brave. And it became impossible.
Put it this way, in 2012, nobody would give me, as a single woman, I didn't get any protection. And then I'd walk from Lime Street to the Underground and get the tube all the way out to West Kirby. And my dad would meet me all the time, or he'd pick me up from the train.
And to be fair,
he'd say, I'm worried about
women get it far worse than men. Because they don't just have the political stuff, they have the sexual violence stuff as well.
I don't understand. We're well overdue a reckoning, right? This is just the latest in a series of attacks, isn't it?
Last week, the police were called to 2 of the Reform MSPs. instance of them being attacked in Scotland, doing their constituency work. Two.
I don't understand what needs to happen for us to pay attention. And even the parliamentary authorities coming out after Zia Yusuf said what he'd said last week and saying, oh, no, this is sort of false and we give all members security. We all know that actually the security that's given is subpar. It takes ages for MPs to get their homes and their offices fitted up. They have this flimsy alarm when they go canvassing because you're not allowed to have any security when you're out doing political activity. Like being a politician isn't in itself a 24/7 political activity. We didn't have this reckoning when Joe Cox was shot in the head, shot in the chest and stabbed 15 times. We're not getting it now. I don't know what's wrong with this country. Is it penny pinching or what?
Yeah, I mean, in the case of David Amos, by the way, I do think that there was a fundamental desire to not talk about the actual massive Islamist elephant in the room. It all became about online social media when there was actually no evidence whatsoever that his killer, you know, had particularly done much on social media, as far as I could tell. He was a rabid Islamist. He was on a terror watch list, for goodness sake, and they seem to want to skirt around that for reasons that I think many people know, which is they didn't want to deal with the uncomfortable reality of Islamism in the UK. But
hang on, lots of Labour politicians in particular, if you're talking about attacks on Labour politicians, Shabana Mahmood, Jess Phillips up in Birmingham, they faced the most horrendous attacks in the 2024 election where they said to their staff, do not canvass because I cannot subject anyone other than myself to this kind of disgusting abuse.
Yeah,
you could have seen it there, that kind of attack.
Yeah, well, quite absolutely. Again, you know, we should also call out where a lot of those attacks were coming from. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to this as well, the Shabana Mahmood statement to Nigel Farage, you know, it seemed a little bit like an olive branch yesterday in a way, saying, OK, well, I'll come and meet you. Well, yeah, but then I'm thinking, well, actually, shouldn't you just give them the security now? Because why are you saying I'll have a meeting with you about security in a week or whenever it is, when we now know that this was supposedly a targeted attack and a line of inquiry the police are pursuing is about whether or other Reform politicians were
One hopes that the reason for the meeting is so to sort out what is required. You can't just chuck it at the wall. One hopes that meeting is so that can be done properly.
And that's what she says. That's what she says, isn't it?
But it does seem slow to act. If you know this is happening, you know people are in immediate danger, you don't need to have a meeting to talk about it. They should already say,
and to be fair,
for this level of attack, this is what we need.
To be fair, because there was a period when we did have proper Home Office security, it's not as if they don't know how to operate with Nigel.
This other business for me, again, is this push about, you know, don't speculate. We can't speculate. And then you look at the way that the police have gone about this. As far as we can tell, you know, before they've finished searching this guy's home, they are pretty ready to come out and certainly give the strong indication to your average man and woman watching this. There's nothing to indicate terror or a political motivation or anything like that at all. So that was speculation from them, and you could argue as well they would deny this. You could argue it was misinformation, etc. You know, so that thing about don't speculate, don't spread misinformation. I'm not really sure that works in the modern world with social media, firstly, but also with the way that the police have gone about several different high-profile cases in recent times, Kai.
Yeah, I think they're under a lot of pressure and are making mistakes under that pressure. You know, they've already now, we see that obviously when attacks happen, they release the ethnicities of the people involved so as to maybe avoid something like Southport where there was misinformation going around. But again, I think they jumped the gun then because often, if you're the people coming out, if you're giving out information that can be construed one way or the other, or that later proves to be wrong, that's all going to come out. We're going to find that out.
In the South,
it's going to look even stupider. This looked like conspiracy.
But when they were saying it absolutely is not political, it absolutely is not terrorist, wouldn't you just say, we're following all lines of inquiry?
Well,
then when they didn't have the 26-year-old and it was the 28-year-old, they didn't know who it was for a period of time, and they still were saying, but this isn't political, this isn't terrorist. And I'm thinking, gosh, this is either sort of incompetence or stupidity. Why were they trying to push people off the scent?
What we did know is it wasn't a political thing. Oh, no, they were careful about how they said it, but they said it in such a way as to give the impression that it wasn't a political thing, and it wasn't terrorism. And yet, he was arrested by anti-terror police.
who are leading it as well.
Hold on. So it's nothing to do with that, but you use anti-terror police to arrest him. That's not normal.
Were they frightened of it being political? Did they think, oh, there is a by-election happening and somebody said to them, it can't be political, it can't be whatever? I mean, I couldn't understand their logic of the information they released.
Clearly the police themselves are doing a good job. My concern is the power of the press officer in the institutions. There are hundreds of press officers working for police forces up and down the country, and it's the press officers writing those screeds, writing those things. The police themselves, they pick up one guy, that he was a delivery driver or something of that sort. No, not him. They find the next guy within 24 hours, they arrest him, they're doing their job. The actual police are doing their job.
I get
but the statements being made by the senior officers, through their press officers, via their press officers, are just, they look like they're trying to manipulate public opinion.
But that's why I said, what was that about? Were they thinking it was a by-election come up? Were they thinking of other things?
The peasants should not know what's happening.
But also on this, I actually have been really sick. I mean, I think, and we steer away from ongoing political events and things to an extent here. But I think, this business now of the idea that, like, Nigel Farage or Reform generally, I think are trying to weaponise or politicise Anne Widdecombe's death in order to swerve this £5 million gift thing. I'll be honest with you, I find that really quite disgusting, actually. That is a real leap, and I just don't know why, and I don't really know why the newspaper decided to lead with that story yesterday when everything else was going on. It just felt to me like that story was a bit of a plant, actually, that in light of all of this, we've come into some information here that Nigel has turned down taxpayer-funded security, and I don't know, I just felt it just feels a bit grubby and a bit grim to me that they're trying to nudge people in that direction when, Anne Widdecombe appears to have been, let's be honest, brutally killed in her own home. Do you think that kind of stuff needs to stop, Kai, or about them kind of trying to say that they're weaponising her death for their own political benefits?
Yes, I do think that. Just gross, really. But there are lots of actors, malign actors, across the political spectrum who are trying to use this in some way or another. It's not right? I mean, I just think we should try and steer clear of that and let the police do their job. But again, as you say, I don't think they're doing that particularly well either. Just
finally on this, sorry, and then we'll move on. But that kind of final point I made about why anyone would want to be a politician these days, an MP these days. And some people, I get that the salary is a great salary for a lot of people, and the expenses and all that stuff. Yeah, I get that, but the level of intrusion now that you get and the level of threat that you get as a result of being a member of Parliament, I think I worry that really I don't know why you do it.
Well, there's a belief. You've got to think, I want to do it, I want to help other people, and the people who go into it are good people wanting to change the world in one way or another. There is a bit of ignorance. You think, it won't happen to me, it can't happen to me, I must be safe, I'm sure I'm fine. So I think that just being oblivious in a way gives you a strength that maybe you shouldn't have. I've been in it for quite a long time now, so maybe I've got a bit tougher, a bit more sort of robust. I'm also married to a former politician who, by the way, somebody was arrested because he spoke up and supported Israel. He, again, had death threats, and the person who did those death threats was arrested. So we both understand it, and I guess we're very aware. But I tell you one thing my dad said to me on Sunday, for the first time ever, and my dad's been through a lot and I've been through a lot, he said, I'm worried now about your safety and security. Never said that before, and I've been through a lot, and this time he did.
Absolutely. It's a very powerful thing. Devon and Cornwall Police and Crime Commissioner Alison Hernandez said there's been some commentary about the way Devon and Cornwall Police have communicated during the early stages of this case. But as the Home Secretary said yesterday, it is not unusual that in a fast-paced investigation, more information comes to light that changes the nature or the character of what the police are dealing with. So there we go. We'll wait and see, of course, if there's any more information on the front pages, which I'll give you very, very shortly. Well, I do also just want to round this off by letting you know, of course, about how you can enter the Great British Giveaway. Here's how you can.
We're celebrating a golden summer, as you could win a totally tax-free £60,000 in cash to spend on anything you like. Imagine all of the fun you could have this year with that. You could spend it on treats, save it for a rainy day, or give you the chance to chill out and relax on the perfect getaway. Plus, we're going to give you a £5,000 gold bar that you could keep, trade, or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. You really could be enjoying gold and £60,000 cash in our golden summer celebration.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages and breaking news on the front page of the Daily Express. They go roar them on. The countdown to England versus Argentina is on. And by the way, I'm taking you stateside shortly to speak to our very own Ben Leo as the build-up of the battle for the Falklands begins. But before that, they're ours. They're ours. Just get over it. Anyway, before that, a much more serious story. Shocking photos have emerged of illegal male migrants peering into women's bedrooms at a detention centre in Scotland. And you've got to put this in the context of what we're now seeing as government policy, which is to open more of these detention centres and plonk them in rural villages. And by the way, on that note, I will be doing a very special show on Thursday, all day and all night, from Crowborough, which has been one of the epicentres, of course, of these migrant detention centres. That's next.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way.
You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
The late edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christys tonight, late edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, late edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here at GB News, we made a promise to tell your stories.
And on the 6th of August, we're marking 5 years of doing exactly that.
Celebrate with us by having your say. Join in the debates live on TV and radio.
And meeting your favourite presenters across the country, from Leeds to Aberdeen, from Belfast to Barry Island.
Plus, join me in Essex for our biggest live show of the year. Scan the QR code or visit gbnews.com/celebrate. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is
denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, Parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight. All of tomorrow's newspaper front pages shortly, and we are going to be going stateside to Ben Leo as well, where we're building up to the England-Argentina match tomorrow, aren't we? But first, a damning new report has raised serious questions tonight over the safety of female migrants in Britain's immigration detention system. I would also argue females more broadly across the country. But male detainees were caught on camera looking through the windows of women's bedrooms. The Chief Inspector of Prisons reports that women at the Dungavel Immigration Removal Centre in South Lanarkshire in Scotland are refusing to leave their accommodation unless escorted by staff, while male detainees move freely around the site. So inspectors there at that site, which holds men and women in separate units, discovered groups of male migrants hanging outside the windows of female detainees and attempting to peer into their rooms. The review also found that the Scottish facility was housing a man deemed to pose a risk of harm to women and other individuals, with impending prosecutions looming for sexual offences. I'm joined now by the former prison governor, Vanessa Frake. Vanessa, thank you very, very much. I mean, for me, I find this impossible to separate from the current policy, which is to have more centres, not necessarily detention removal centres, but more centres popping up in various different towns and villages across the UK, where actually they're all for men and they're allowed to roam freely. If they're doing this, peering through women's windows at detention centres, what do we expect they're going to do when they're allowed out into the communities?
Well, this is it. Quite, Patrick. Good evening. I mean, the pictures are shocking, and I think that these places are completely designed for men. They house, the majority are housed are men. The women are in the minority and quite fearful for their safety, and quite rightly so. You know, these detention centres popping up here, there and everywhere. I think people are right to be worried, because we don't know who these people are. We have no idea where they're from, what their history is or anything, and they're just allowed to wander freely at will.
But there's an admittance here. See, this is what really gets me. There is a total admittance here that these men, some of them, pose a serious risk to women. That's one of the reasons why they will keep them separate. That's one of the reasons why they give escorts and security to women who are in these kind of mixed detention centres. But yet we're not really allowed to raise the question about the safety of other women and girls in this country when you put these men in houses of multiple occupancy, or in the hotels, or in these kind of free-range camps. And the authorities obviously know that a lot of them do pose a risk.
Yeah, clearly they do. And I think that, you know, what's to stop them looking in your window when they're wandering aimlessly about your village or your town? You know, there is nothing. There's nothing for them to do. So all they do is hang around street corners, and people are naturally concerned about that, and quite rightly so. You know, there are some of these. We've seen them. You know, many of them who have committed sexual assaults on young women in this country. But you know. This is for the immigration service. This is completely catastrophic, this report from Charlie Taylor, because it just shows a complete misogynistic look at men, these male migrants, against more vulnerable, some are pregnant female migrants. And I think that really the immigration service needs to take a long, hard look and see why they're housing females, minority females, in majority male detention centres.
Well, yeah, go on, Vanessa. Just to expand a bit on that for me, if that's okay. So you mentioned some of the pretty catastrophic findings in this report. Would you mind just explaining what some of them are, really, in terms of the attitudes of some of these male migrants towards females?
Yeah. I mean, you know, some of these people come from a culture where women are treated as second and third class citizens, and bring that culture with them here. So I think, you know, Charlie Taylor sort of said that it was completely wrong to house high risk men, including somebody, I might add, who was facing a sexual offence charge with women. You know, you can't disagree with him, can you? No. The fact that women are terrified to go out of their house, so they are literally confined to their quarters, and men are allowed to roam free unescorted. I mean, how is that in a alleged civilized society acceptable in any shape or form?
A couple of things that stood out to me from the two trips that I did to Calais and Dunkirk and around there was the domination in terms of numbers when it came to male would-be illegal migrants, and especially things like this warehouse full of only men. And you have to wonder, OK, so why is it that the women, and there are some women, of course, who make the illegal journey into Britain, why is it that they don't feel safe in these areas, you know, sleeping alongside or in the same camps as some of these blokes? The other thing that stood out to me was the amount of female charity workers that work there, that go and think they're doing a great thing, you know, and they give these blokes, you know, the bit of food and a bit of sustenance and all of that. And I just wonder the psychology of a lot of these female charity workers. And you think, do you never think, where are the women? Why are the women thinking that they're not safe here? And why do you think that this will all be fine when these men come to Britain? I just can't get my head around that, Vanessa.
No, I don't think you're alone there, Patrick, by any stretch of the imagination. I think, you know, it's if you look at, I mean, we've seen on GB News many times, you know, another boat coming in, and there may be one or two women, but the majority are young men in their 20s. You know, they've left their families behind, hoping possibly to bring them over at some stage here. Who knows? But, you know, how is that, in any sense of the word, acceptable to our country? I don't understand.
No, and again, you know, if they're willing to behave like that in a detention centre where you would imagine it's full of CCTV and indeed security staff, then I'm sorry, but what are they going to do when they're just unleashed out onto the street? And again, just to say, I will be doing a special broadcast all day from Crowborough, which has been one of the epicentres of these centres that have been popping up, former military barracks, of course. And that'll be Thursday. My live show will be from 9 until 11 p.m, but I'm going to be there all day, and I'm going to be speaking to people in the community, people who've been affected by this, the property prices falling, the safety of women and girls, of course, and indeed I'm hoping to speak to a few of these illegal migrants as well, because they are allowed out and about. Vanessa Frake, thank you very much, former prison governor there, responding to that devastating report. A Home Office spokesperson has said, we take these findings seriously and are committed to ensuring that the specific needs of women in immigration detention are properly met, including through gender-appropriate staffing, healthcare provision and safeguarding arrangements. Any allegations of inappropriate behaviour or concerns about safety are investigated thoroughly, with additional safeguarding measures put into place where necessary. Coming up, all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and breaking on the front page of tomorrow's Sun newspaper, it's in your hands now, lads. We're going to go live to Ben Leo in Atlanta as the countdown to England versus Argentina begins.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we've been talking about heat across the UK for a while, we've been talking about heat across parts of Europe for even longer, and the exceptionally hot spell does look set to continue. It's more across parts of France, but also pushing into eastern Spain, where we're seeing the very high temperatures compared to average. But even further south, well, here it is pretty hot, and temperatures for parts of Italy getting into the high 30s or low 40s. With all that, lots of sunshine, but do watch out for a bit of showery rain. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. It's time for your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's going to be another warm night for many of us, with some low cloud returning like it has done through recent nights. But most of that will burn away, leaving a largely sunny picture tomorrow, because we still have high pressure firmly in control. Now, as we've seen through recent nights, yes, low cloud, which has been nagging some North Sea coasts through today, that's going to become more widespread, spread its way further west and southwards. But many western and southern areas will stick with the clear skies, and it is going to be a warm night for many of us as well. Temperatures in the south holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. Further north, a bit fresher, a bit more comfortable. Some places perhaps getting into single digits. Now, all the time, it is worth bearing in mind one or two showers are possible in parts of the southwest through this evening, overnight, and even tomorrow. You can't rule out a couple, particularly for Cornwall. Otherwise, it's going to be dry, and a lot of the cloud across central and eastern parts, that's going to burn away and become confined to just those North Sea coastal parts. A largely sunny start for Northern Ireland, a bit of a west-east split for Scotland with sunshine amounts, but as I mentioned, most of that cloud will be retreating back to those eastern coasts. So some eastern parts of Scotland, the Northern Isles and northeastern coastal parts of England as well, sticking with a bit of cloud through the bulk of the day, but otherwise plenty of sunshine for many of us, and just one or two showers in the southwest possible. With that sunshine, watch out for some very high UV levels, and temperatures again likely to get to the very high 20s or perhaps low 30s, so pretty hot in the south, fresher with that cloud towards those northeastern coastal parts. Thursday's looking pretty similar, really. Yes, there'll be some low cloud to start off with, but again, that's going to retreat to those northeastern coasts, and then plenty of sunshine for many of us through the bulk of the day. Always just a chance of a few showers towards the south. Temperatures are going to drop a little bit as we go through Friday, and more so by the weekend, but there will still be plenty of sunshine around. See you later.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. Let me get you a few of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you. It's quite football heavy, actually. The Sun, they go for, is in your hands now, lads, as England prepare to take on Argentina. The Express, roar them on, they say. A picture of Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham there. England versus Argentina, 8 p.m. They've got it on pages 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So they've gone big. They've gone big. The Metro, don't jinx it, Keir. So England fans are imploring Keir Starmer not to fly out for the World Cup final if we do make it past Argentina and play Spain. But let's get, I think we can go actually, I believe now, stateside to GB News' chief US correspondent, Ben Leo, who's live from Atlanta as we gear up for the England-Argentina grudge match tomorrow. Ben, what's the mood like on the ground?
Patrick, hello, good to see you. Oh, there's a few people smashing glasses. Yeah, not bad here in Atlanta, Georgia. England return to Atlanta for their big semi-final tomorrow, 8 p.m. kickoff in the UK. It's going to be a great game, and I can tell you, if we make the final, if we beat the RGs, tomorrow night, we'll be playing Spain because they've just beaten France 2-0 in a pretty convincing semi-final victory. The other piece of news to bring you very quickly is on Sunday at the final, if England make it, there will be a half-time show featuring the likes of, I think it's Justin Bieber, Shakira, but instead of the normal 15 minutes, as has been tradition in our great sport of football for centuries now, how long's football been around? 150 years? It's going to be half an hour, just so they can fit in the half-time show, because everybody who's attending the final, obviously, instead of watching the football, wants to see Justin Bieber and Shakira. It's going to be an unprecedented 30-minute half-time show. I think it's a joke. Gianni Infantino, the FIFA boss, should be resigning after this tournament. The man is a joke as well. But yeah, a couple of pieces of breaking news to bring you there. I spoke to some England fans here in Atlanta a bit earlier today. I'll say as well, mostly RGs everywhere so far. England fans still flying into the city. But I did catch up with a couple of England fans and Argentinian fans a bit earlier about tomorrow's game. This is what they had to say.
I haven't noticed it at all with the Argentina fans at all. They've been very friendly, so I've been fine.
Argentinian people think that this match it's like a classic, Argentina versus England. So it's a match, but with a condiment that adds some spicy to this match too.
I went to the last World Cup in Qatar and went to a lot of Argentina games that didn't involve England, but even during the match they were obsessed with the Falkland Islands, Maggie Thatcher and their hatred for England. I think potentially England could end up with a red card, maybe even have a penalty given against them. I think there'll be lots of things to try and generate a win for Argentina.
So yeah, lots of history with this fixture, England-Argentina, not least sporting-wise. David Beckham's red card in 1998. We had the hand of God Maradona in 1986. And then politically and militarily as well, of course, the Falklands is a big talking point. The RGs, they call it Las Malvinas, which is incorrect. That's what Gary Lineker called it the other day as well. I don't know why he's speaking like that. But yeah, we're focusing really, as it seems, on the football in Atlanta at the moment. Nobody really talking about the Falklands at the moment, aside from the Argentine politicians. Javier Milei's been talking about it, their foreign minister. But for now, all focus, Patrick, on this big semi-final on the pitch in Atlanta, England against Argentina tomorrow.
Wow, yes, absolutely. Ben, thank you very, very much. You've been doing a stellar job for us out there reporting on this World Cup. So it's Ben Leo there. And yes, obviously, look, a lot of the front pages are leading on this. You know, massive, massive game. And I just think we're going to do it. I just really think we are going to do it. And this is, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's in your hands. Of course, I get to watch the first half of it out there, and then I have to come in here and then present the show. Yeah. So, you know, I'll be shouting into a vacuum for a couple of hours. So that's no change there, eh? But, yeah, predicted scores for tomorrow, everyone?
Yeah, scores? 2-1, why not?
England, I'm assuming.
Yes. I would have said a 2-1.
Now, Kai, you're Welsh, right?
And gay. So football, World Cup has not been my bag, Patrick. But I want to correct the record. Not on
which one?
Not on either of those.
So
you're not gay at all.
Yeah.
I'm still gay. I'm still Welsh. But I've said previously, I think on this show. I've said on this show.
You've broken half.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think they know, Esther. You know. I said, I think in a previous match, lightheartedly on this show, I said I cheered on for the opposing team to England.
Yes.
Very Scottish behaviour. And I just want to say, I will be cheering on England tomorrow, as I did on Saturday.
Good for you.
Not least because I was actually born in England.
Remember the Welsh
There you go, yeah. Although actually, so were quite a few players who were playing for other teams at this World Cup. Erling Haaland being one of them, and Elise who played for France. But of course, they're both going home. Whereas, of course, it's actually coming home this time. Anyway, it's funny on that note, because in the next section, I'm going to play you a clip of what some of the Scottish football fans are doing when it comes to flags. But yes, so look, coming up, more front pages for you. And look, it's obviously a bit of a shift in tone, to say the least. This, the Daily Mail's front page, Widdicombe suspect probed over left-wing extremism. That is leading tomorrow's Daily Mail. Going to be talking about that and more when we come back.
Britain's newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Well, we're joined now by another two brutal commentators, Jonathan Liss and Emma Trimble, here in the studio to go through the day's news. Good morning, both of you. Let's start with this
pub opening all through the night on Monday. I mean, great news for pub landlords. We've just spoken to one, but not necessarily such great news for the police, Emma, who aren't so impressed with this idea.
True, although in the 11th hour it seems that Keir Starmer's finally figured out how to do something popular. I mean, if he could allow them to open until 5 a.m. around, you know, not just for the football but throughout the year, I think that would be, as in many European countries, you know, it'd be really good for hospitality. I'm sure it will lead to maybe some drunken disorderly behaviour.
Depends if we win or lose.
You know, come on, the police don't actually bother to police proper crimes anyway, it seems, so I'm sure.
Well, the GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It was the daring rescue mission that shocked the world. 50 years ago, 102 hostages were rescued in a deadly siege following a week-long crisis that began with the hijacking of Air France Flight 139. 248 people boarded the flight from Tel Aviv to Paris, with a stopover in Athens to pick up more passengers. Among those passengers were 4 armed pro-Palestinian terrorists. 8 minutes after takeoff, the terrorists hijacked the plane and forced the pilot to fly to Uganda's Entebbe airport. There, the notorious dictator Idi Amin and his troops were waiting to assist the attackers to hold the passengers hostage.
I've been telephoned several telephone calls from Tel Aviv talking to me since I cut off relationship with Israel.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
How are you? Great to see you. Listen, how are the bags?
Great to see you.
How are the bags under the eyes? It's been a long night for you as well as us, right?
Yeah, well, they're always there anyway, the bags.
Oh, go on.
But no, it was a fantastic evening, wasn't it? I just, you know, I knew after about 5 or 10 minutes that we were so focused on the match. I haven't seen us like that for a little while. We were really prepared properly, and we just took the sting out the Mexican side. You know, we played some great football, and of course, you know, Jude Bellingham got his goals as normal, and Harry got his penalty as normal, and yeah, I mean, it was just not only a great game and a great result, you know, it's just lit the nation up, really, I think now.
GB News, the People's Channel.
OK, welcome back. Look, let me round off tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you. The Times go for Widdicombe suspects may have targeted other MPs. Police exploring if attack was part of a wider plot. The Telegraph lead with Alzheimer's drug could stop the disease. Then we go for the Daily Mirror. You can do this. It's another picture of Kane and Bellingham there. And it's actually a message from Sir Geoff Hurst as well, from the hero of 1966. The Mail, Widdicombe suspect probed over left-wing extremism. The Guardian, police examine possible left-wing motive for Widdicombe murder, which I imagine the Guardian wrote that headline through gritted teeth, to be fair, but at least they have splashed it. So there we go. Look, I do obviously want to remind you we've got the next hour where we're going to be delving into the newspapers, the different angles in a lot more detail. But I do only have a couple of minutes left on this show, and I did want to bring you this clip, especially in light of the fact that a lot of the papers are leading with tomorrow's football match. Let me just take you now to Scotland. So the Scots have torn down the Democratic Republic of Congo flags, they've torn down the Norwegian flags, and now they've put up the Argentinian flags. I mean, I appreciate this isn't all Scots, by the way, but it is a bit pathetic, isn't it?
That's what they do.
Operation Raise the Colours.
Yeah.
Yes,
just the wrong colours.
Anybody else's colours but ours.
But there is a serious point to this, which is that several Scottish people died defending the Falkland Islands from Argentina. You know, fighting in that war. And it is actually very disrespectful to them, I think, that the Scots are now waving the Argentinian flag. Huh?
It is, but it's all part of the internal UK banter, isn't it? Look, they're going to get disappointed again. They've been disappointed how many times this tournament?
I was going to say, so far, that's gone in our favour, them hoisting up the flag of the opposite team.
I'm sure Gordon Strachan will be trending to be eating pampas grass and chowdowing on corned beef.
I just want want to bring you something else. We're going to discuss this more in the next hour, but some breaking news to bring you. 16 and 17-year-olds will face a voluntary overnight social media curfew under plans announced by Technology Secretary Liz Kendall. It's the most pointless thing you've ever heard. The changes are part of the government's wider restrictions on social media, and it's going to restrict them voluntarily, if they want to, between midnight and 6 a.m. What is the point of this?
I'd have that. They can voluntarily restrict me if they like.
Well, while they're asleep in bed.
No, me. I'm not asleep in bed.
It's just a load of nonsense. There's more to what they just think they've got to fill newspaper space with stuff that's unworkable, unpoliceable, unpreventable.
But sorry, it's already voluntary. If you think it's already voluntary, right now. You could voluntarily not go on social media at that time.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's just...
It's brilliant. Well done there.
It's just embarrassing is what it is.
It's pointless.
It's OK, Andy Burnham will change things. He won't do stupid things like that.
Oh, no, it'll be Manchesterism then.
Maybe you can only get social media from Manchester.
Or not in Manchester, whichever way.
Voluntary social media in Manchester.
So you could voluntarily basically voluntarily lock yourself out of social media, which you can already do. You can already do that. It's just what is the point of all of that?
You can have a voluntary tax rate as well.
Yeah. Well, I'd like that actually. If you could, if you could volunteer to not pay any. Yeah. Anyway, of course, law-abiding citizen. Anyway, don't go anywhere because there is a boatload full of news that I'll be sharing with you. Some incredibly serious stuff, obviously, when it comes to Anne Widdecombe's death, but also we're going to be talking about the football. We're going to be talking as well about this voluntary social media ban and loads more. So don't go anywhere.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. It's time for your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It's going to be another warm night for many of us, with some low cloud returning like it has done through recent nights. But most of that will burn away, leaving a largely sunny picture tomorrow because we still have high pressure firmly in control. Now, as we've seen through recent nights, yes, low cloud, which has been nagging some North Sea coasts through today, that's going to become more widespread, spread its way further west and southwards. But many western and southern areas will stick with the clear skies. And it is going to be a warm night for many of us as well. Temperatures in the south holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. Further north, a bit fresher, a bit more comfortable. Some places perhaps getting into single digits. Now, all the time, it is worth bearing in mind one or two showers are possible in parts of the southwest through this evening, overnight, and even tomorrow. You can't rule out a couple, particularly for Cornwall. Otherwise, it's going to be dry, and a lot of the cloud across central and eastern parts, that's going to burn away and become confined to just those North Sea coastal parts. A largely sunny start for Northern Ireland, a bit of a west-east split for Scotland with sunshine amounts, but as I mentioned, most of that cloud will be retreating back to those eastern coasts. So some eastern parts of Scotland, the Northern Isles and northeastern coastal parts of England as well, sticking with a bit of cloud through the bulk of the day, but otherwise plenty of sunshine for many of us and just one or two showers in the southwest possible. With that sunshine, watch out for some very high UV levels and temperatures again likely to get to the very high 20s or perhaps low 30s, so pretty hot in the south, fresher with that cloud towards those northeastern coastal parts. Thursday's looking pretty similar, really. Yes, there'll be some low cloud to start off with, but again, that's going to retreat to those northeastern coasts, and then plenty of sunshine for many of us through the bulk of the day. Always just a chance of a few showers towards the south. Temperatures are going to drop a little bit as we go through Friday and more so by the weekend, but there will still be plenty of sunshine around. See you later.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome along. A real mixture on tomorrow's newspaper front pages. Widdecombe suspect may have targeted other MPs. That's according to The Times. Widdecombe suspect probed over left-wing extremism. That's the Mail. The Guardian. They also say that the police are probing a potential left-wing motive for Anne Widdecombe's murder. Other newspapers, of course, leading on the football as we build up to England versus Argentina tomorrow. Roar them on, say the Daily Express. It looks like Miliband's missed out on the role as Chancellor, and you're all going to have to work until you're 68 because they've raised the pension age.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late-night TV shows. We're giving you a front-row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans? Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight Late Edition. All of tomorrow's newspaper front pages tonight, and we are leading with this.
It's clear that this was a targeted attack.
So, earlier today, counter-terror police confirmed that Anne Widdecombe was killed in a targeted attack, as detectives now say they are exploring several different leads, including whether or not the suspect had left-wing extremist views, and also whether or not he may have targeted other Reform MPs. Also tonight... Roar them on! That's what the Daily Express are going for. Less than 24 hours now until England beat Argentina and then go on to face Spain in the World Cup final. Spain have smashed France 2-0, which opens it up for an England versus Spain final. We're going to go live to America with Ben Leo. Also, we've got something really quite fascinating for you from the Argentinian embassy, which I'm going to be playing you a little bit later. We're also going to talk about this.
Well, honestly, I was speechless when I woke up to your voice. Now you tell me how you've been feeling. Let's look at...
Yeah. So, have we been spared Ed Miliband as Chancellor? Allies of Andy Burnham are suggesting that he's not going to give Ed Miliband the keys to number 11. Shabana Mahmood is now the front-runner, which is hilarious because apparently Ed Miliband, in a last-minute roll of the dice, he said, oh, sorry, I'll let us drill more in the North Sea. So compromised all of his principles for the sake of personal power and then got shafted. You know, I mean, gosh, you just hate to see it, don't you? And this is pointless.
Protecting young people from social media.
Yeah, so they've come up with just the most idiotic policy you could possibly think of. So under 18s are going to face, ready for this, a voluntary overnight social media curfew, which already exists, doesn't it? You can already choose not to go on social media overnight if you want. And we are all going to be working until we're 68. So it's a new pension plan, raising the pension age to 68, which means that, for example, Christo is going to be working for another 50-odd years, which is shocking, really, when you think about that. Joining us this evening is GBNews contributor Kai Wilshaw, broadcasting royalty and very young person Christo Foufas, and comedian and GBNews contributor Paul Cox. Plus, booming bays. He's at it again. He's had enough of Downing Street. He's had enough of asking various different cabinet ministers if they're measuring the curtains. This time, he's been unleashed onto the Argentinian embassy.
So I'm going to have to do what Booming Bears does best. I'm going to have to shout those questions at the Argentinian ambassador, and I'm going to do it right now. Is Harry Kane now better than Lionel Messi? What's the score going to be in tomorrow's semi-final, ambassador? Do you agree roast beef is better than corned beef?
Oh, that Keith Bass clip, absolute magic. We'll play you the full version of that very shortly. But let me give you the full rundown of tomorrow's newspaper front pages first. The Sun, they go with, it's in your hands now, lads, as we gear up for England-Argentina. The Express, roar them on, they say. The picture there of Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham. The Metro, don't jinx it, Keir. Keir Starmer's due to fly out on Sunday for the World Cup final if England make it through. A lot of people are saying to him, please don't. Just please, please don't infect what has been a really good World Cup campaign so far with the fact that you are just such a bad person, you know. The Times. Much more serious story, this, of course. Anne Widdecombe's suspect may have targeted other MPs. They are now seriously probing whether or not the suspect here was basically, you know, thinking of a wider plot. The Daily Telegraph. Alzheimer's drug could stop the disease. They also run with the story that, loads of people are going to be working until you're 68 as well because of the pension age. The Mirror, you can do this. Again, it's Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham roaring the lads on there. The Daily Mail, they also cover the Anne Widdecombe story. Widdecombe suspect probed over left-wing extremism. The Guardian, and they must have written this through gritted teeth, to be fair on them, police examine possible left-wing motive for Anne Widdecombe murder. We're going to start with the much more serious stuff, which is, of course, the latest on the Anne Widdecombe murder investigation. I think, really,